to the haunting place. Tonight we gaze into the ghostly flame to reflect upon the nature of haunting in everyday places. How can elements and areas of the profane world stay with us long after we have experienced them? What was it about that building, that small corner of the park, that particular street which leaves us uneasy, unable to shake off the feeling something unseen was there with us? How can the everyday haunt us when, on the face of it, nothing is out of place or unusual? It's just a gnawing sensation, a feeling, a knowing that something is very wrong about a place. And on this evening, we shall descend beneath the streets of London as millions of people do each day. We shall wander the stations of the London Tube, with their passageways and halls and tunnels which create a city-wide liminal space. We shall gaze beyond the crowds, the noise and the chaos, to the quiet and lonely places of this underground web, the spider's lair of those trapped within, the many whose journey never ended, who never made it home. Welcome to the haunting place of the London Underground. The ghostly quiet of a station at night, alone and deep underground. The only sound apart from your footsteps is a low grumble that seems to vibrate from every surface. This hum is just on the edge of hearing, a subsonic vibration that saturates the background, clouding your senses and acting as precursor to the inevitable roar of an approaching train. Opening in 1863, the Tube was the world's first underground metro railway, and for well over a century and a half, it has soaked up every essence of the city, the celebrations and the tragedies, the fall of an empire and the rise of technology. It has survived bombings within wartime and not, sheltering those who need a safe place to ride out the night and a ride to the traveller who yearns to be home. The stations, each unique, are constantly bathed in the glow of electric light which illuminates the winding passages and sweeping escalators from surface to some of the deepest tunnels under the city. Surrounded by coloured tiles and a multitude of signs, posters and flashing screens, one might be forgiven for thinking these are the places of the living. However, scratch just beyond the veil, and the London Underground will reveal a whole other realm of being. In the dark corners and dimly lit areas of the station, when the hordes of people have left the platforms bare and the corridors but empty vessels, you begin to sense the presence of others. This hidden metropolis deep underground takes us on a journey back through time to a past stained with blood and sorrow and pain. From the ancient plague pits unearthed during the excavation of the tunnels to the tragic air raid accidents during the Blitz of World War II, the crashes and the suicides, from construction disasters and fires and those who simply turned the wrong corner at the wrong time to the more commonplace incidences of a traveller who will never make it home, finding their last moments of life on the cold, hard surface of a platform or the humid heat of a train. And then there are those who are not of the living, those who inhabit these depths of the earth and are less familiar in their perspective and interaction. For some even say this subterranean city has its own sense of awareness, an atmosphere, a knowing, some overarching sentinel that embodies the spirit and soul of this place. For so many in the crowd, the millions of commuters who would rather be anywhere else, the holiday makers trying to navigate the complexity of the network, or the traveller weary, alone, excited, nervous, anxious or asleep, they remain unaware of what they are bathed in, this immersion into the subtle and ever watchful. These pragmatic journey folk who simply want to go from A to B remain oblivious to the yearning all around, but look a little deeper, beyond the surface, a little further into the blackness of a tunnel, a little way past the jurisdiction of the light, and you will see them, watching, waiting for a train that never comes, and a destination never reached. There are many tales of haunting on the tube, with a past so long and so entrenched in London's own history, it is only natural that stories of the ghostly experiences underground would become a colourful part of the tube folklore. But what of the stories you haven't heard? Those dark, obscure tales, not of ghosts, but of other forms of haunting. What of Pimlico Station, which opened in 1972, making it one of the newer stations on the tube? The familiar decor and appearance of this Victoria Line station reveals nothing unusual to hint at the unusual feelings it provokes. Many would and do pass through this place each day without any thought or recognition that something sinister may lurk in its passageways and on its platforms. However, the tunnels here seem a little darker than the other tube stations. The passageways possess a sickly quality to the light, as if the observer is in the grip of a ravaging fever. Even when other people are close by, it feels as if one is alone, isolated and trapped in a place somehow disconnected from the person next to you. And when alone on one of the platforms, there is an intangible yet real sense of being watched. Where those avaricious peepers gaze from, you cannot tell. However, the sensation of falling under their contemplation is like that of being in the presence of a predator, a large and hungry creature that regards you as prey. Could this be some disturbance of the old plague pits that once littered the ground where these tunnels now lie? Or is there a more rational explanation? Some strange aspect or angle that, at this depth underground, makes sounds and vibrations seem more visceral and corporeal in nature? Or has the construction of this place awoken some dark force that now oozes from the seams, every tile and stone drenched in a palpable sense of dread, each metal beam and plastic moulding saturated with its foul intent. Maybe it is simply the darkness of that gaping maw, ever vigilant and ever hungry. A tunnel that we can tell ourselves leads to another station, and yet the black hides something more malevolent. Fear of the dark stems from something very primal within us, a deep, visceral sense of threat that comes from the unknown, the unseen monster out there in the tunnel and around the corner, watching and waiting for its moment to strike. The beast, the man, the phantom. Some of our fears are caused by a very real danger, whereas others are more ethereal. Now our daily monsters come in the form of bills, hidden away in drawers, the problematic situation we know we need to face, the undeserved scorn of angry, self-entitled people, and our own conscious or unconscious sense of inadequacy against the world, life, time. Yet real monsters still exist. The charlatan and the abuser, the cut purse and the murderer, waiting and watching for us to wander haplessly into their lair. And how many have stood on these platforms and walked the passages? Is one standing right next to you now, as you wait for the train that never seems to arrive? The question is, are the monsters in this place real? Do those who stalk the never-ending passages of this station have the power to hurt, to kill, to distort our very sense of being? Each day they walk here, hidden in plain sight. Rumours also beleaguer Whitechapel Station, one of the oldest of the London Tube network, opening in 1876. Reports still exist of a tunnel connecting the station with the Royal London Hospital, through which dead bodies were transported to their final resting place. Anecdotes of a lonely wraith associated with the station add to its haunted reputation, thought to be that of Mary Ann Nichols, who was the first victim to fall foul of Jack the Ripper's blade. Yet this station is much the same as any other. Grey stone platforms outstretched as open palms, sturdy and resolute, to hold those who meander their way from here to there. Walls stand in alignment, each reaching out to greet others at every corner, tiled and clad. Passages beckon you forward from ticket hall to bridge, staircase to train to tunnel. The faded grandeur of this place whispers to us of moments now lost, and events that can never again reveal to us what is hidden. The people who have walked the platforms endlessly nurturing their own desires, secret or otherwise, now rest in places far beyond our knowing or grasp, silenced by their passing and the passing of time. And only the whispers remain, but even these seem out of place, not as the sound of a hushed voice and sibilant murmur. No, these whispers were never born from breath and vocal cord and tongue. These whispers are of nothing human, nothing natural. They are here and yet not here. Yes, this station is indeed much as any other in purpose and liminal space. It offers no clue upon first glance as to how it may differ, except perhaps it seems slightly darker, as if stealing away the light. Maybe the silence is a little too still and the air a little too cold. And if you are truly paying attention, you could have the slightest sense of a hunger, no more than a pang at first, but growing towards ravenous, towards a yearning, towards a compulsion when it must feed. And when it feeds, this station is not the same as any other. And finally, what of the Hampstead Tube, the deepest, and serviced by the oldest of the deep level lines, now known as the Northern Line? This is perhaps the most notorious of all the underground, haunt of the alleged secret serial killer who pushed his victims onto the tracks in front of oncoming trains, connected to both the deadly King's Cross station and the notorious Kennington Loop, historically both ripe for the telling of ghostly encounters. Yet these are not the most haunting of tales from the Tube, for it is in the commuters who travel each day from the north and the south into the city that we see the greatest tragedy of all. When we think of prisons and places of incarceration, we immediately head towards claustrophobic, frightening, dangerous cells of stone and metal. We imagine bars on windows and shackles and other instruments of confinement. Yet the most terrible jails are those within us, the thoughts, emotions, and behavioural patterns that keep us locked away from the extraordinary life. We are captured and restrained within traumas and beliefs and other forms of narrative that tell us we are not enough. Because people don't need prison cells made of stone and metal to have their freedom taken from them. People are quite capable of building their own means of incarceration within themselves. The prisons of routine, the commute and the journey, these are just as claustrophobic, frightening, dangerous spaces, and they are also mundane, saturated by that low-level, cumulative stress that stems from the mundane. It's there, clawing and gnawing away at us, paralysing us between the everyday we feel obliged to fit into and the everyday of wonder and aspiration that never seems to arrive. The early start and the late return, the waiting and cramped squeeze into packed carriages, the scream of wheel on rail, and loud clattering of metal against the claustrophobic clench of the tunnel walls. Worse still is the magician's oubliette, a place inside walled up by all the obligation of the 9 to 5, the slog where a person forgets their magic, their own sense of wonderment and marvel. We are all born to inspire. We are all woven with magic, not sleight of hand, smoke and mirrors, or even the phantasmagorical. Real magic. The spectacle of life, cells dividing, life polarizing into reality, growing, learning, being in the world. the things we do not yet understand and perhaps can never understand, as this would be the act of undoing, the observer and the observed, separated by a perspective that means one can never be the other, even when that one is one and the same. The mystery of life, of us, is wrapped up in experiences that cannot be contained by definition, words, or ideology alone. Neither religion or science or skepticism or dogma and doctrine can fully appreciate the mystery without unlocking the mystery and therefore making it something else, something that is not a mystery. The magic within you, only you can feel, sense, be affected by. You cannot know it completely, and any attempt to lock yourself into specificity is just that, being locked in. Over time we are locked in by ourselves, by others, by circumstance, by the endless journey and habitual commute. So many times we forget the magic was there in the first place. This is the magician's oubliette. So never forget, you are woven with magic, and if you don't feel that way, you simply need to escape to the place within, a place where you remember. So if you ever find yourself entombed within the tunnels and passageways of the London Underground, spare a thought for those lonely, lost souls trapped down here with you. Offer a kindness to those who need it as they tread their weary path. And most of all, remember the magic of you, who you are, who you have the potential to be, and all the wonders of life you experience in each moment. Remember and be haunted by them.